Hello YouTube, my name is Sean Connors and welcome back to FanPub video number 6, and this is all about why running backs are considered the best pick first in any NFL draft in terms of when you draft in whatever league you do. Why are people so high on this, and why are the experts constantly telling us this is the best strategy? I'm going to show you why. When you look at the intro and the exit of this video, you'll notice there's a chart. I've put part of that chart up behind me. Apologies about the crude writing, but the chart is there for you to print off or make notes on and then use throughout this video, and I would suggest you do because it's going to prove to be a very valuable tool for you throughout this video. There is a little bit of dry maths, but don't worry, this isn't going to bore you, because I promise you what you're going to learn from this video you won't find anywhere else, and for good reason. So do take a moment out to try to get a copy at least of the key top 10 or 12 performing results, and then come back to the video where we've left it here. If you couldn't be bothered to make any notes or pause the video, I totally understand that, but what you have now behind me is pretty much most of the key parts of detail that we're going to be using throughout this video. So I'll be constantly referring to this chart for good reason. And I'm hoping what you'll learn through this video is information that you've never seen anywhere else, not even in an American sports magazine, and that's some boast to make, or anywhere else for that matter. And I need to quantify this before I really get started, just so you understand where this data is coming from, how I've arisen to this conclusion, and why it's useful to you. So first off, I'm involved in every year, and I have been for quite some time, at least 50 or more leagues that I get involved in. It's often more. I try to set my level at 50, and I run those leagues as well as I can. And I only join leagues, just to quantify this, I only join leagues where it's serious, people are committed, and I only use data from those leagues. Because anybody that drops out after 1 or 2 weeks, you know, no one filling the gaps, it's not really good data, it's not really factual, it's not going to help us formulate strategies or plans for our fantasy drafts, it's not going to help us. So I don't really stick with those types of leagues. So the data you're getting is accurate and factual and goes back over many years. Now I've only used on this data here, this is from 2012 to 2013. I could have actually used in the over 5 years I've been involved in over 250 leagues. I could have used any data from any of the periods that are used there, but I like to have a body of the most recent data. I think last year's was interesting data, and I want to see how that spills out to 2015 before I really go into it. But I could have used 2014 and 2013 data, taken a 20% snapshot of any of the leagues, and the results literally, honestly, are within 1 or 2 games. So there's no, I'm not trying to fuddle the figures to make it fit my preferred method. I'm only backing up what the experts say here and explaining the reasons why, and then also going into a little bit more detail around it and explaining what you can do to get more out of it. So the first and most important conclusion that you're going to see as you examine this data is the following: that as we look at strategies that have worked well, and again, as I say, you could have used any 20% snapshot, the dominating factor is a running back first strategy, which doesn't, you know, depending on what you took next with it, has a massive impact on how many wins. And as you can see, you add up those wins over the data I've given you, and you'll see this data very clearly at the very beginning. It's 52 leagues involved in that data. I could have used 52 league data from anywhere, and it always ends up within 1 or 2 of this total. So 32 out of 52 leagues using a running back first strategy, because not all the running back first strategies are used here, and we have a little total like everything else, 12 wins, clearly shows why, in a nutshell, the running back first strategy wins and does very well for a lot of leagues. And this doesn't always work. You know, we have to take this data with a slight pinch of salt. If we look at last year's live league, our own live league, and I'll try and insert some data here to show you. It may not be clear from the data I've inserted, but our own league winner last year didn't actually use any of the strategies mentioned on the chart I provided. He went slightly different. He went wide receiver, running back was his first 3 picks. That actually, there is some data on this in 2014, but it only accounts for 1 win other than Chris's win. So there was 2 wins last year, and it's the first time it's been attempted in some leagues. So you can see there are fluctuations even within the data. As I said, 1 or 2 normally is the reason that you get a little bit of data change. But I think it's pretty clear that the running back first strategy works. But we have to temper this. I was saying really right back at the beginning, you have to temper this because there are a couple of key things here. First thing is this, and this is pretty much unknown, is that when you take a running back first in the first round, one thing to bear in mind, if you go back, you can go back any data you like, you go back over the last 15 years, it's fascinating data this, 50% of the running backs don't work out very well at all. So a real fact, a real honest fact, and yet if you get it right, you tend to yield great results for the rest of your fantasy season. So it's hitting the home run hit first pick on the right running back does you really well. I mean, for anybody last year who had bad luck at taking Peterson, I'm sure you didn't end up, you probably ended up with real struggles to try and get anywhere near finishing top in your division. Near top in your division and winning it. It would have been quite hard to do that when your first round pick has been a bust. You certainly can survive first round pick busts, and in another video we'll go into that about what you do to get around that problem. But you can clearly see this, and then you can start looking at the data yourself and extrapolating other factors. I mean, I suppose one of the other interesting factors of this data here would be how many times the wide receiver strategy was used pick 2 and successfully used. I mean, we saw our own leader go wide receiver, running back, you see. So it's quite interesting how those techniques seem to have avoided or got round some of the first round bust problems. So there's a lot of detail you can take out of this video. And what I'm hoping you'll see in here is, I'm hoping what this will do is make it clear why a particular strategy works. Also make it clear that you don't have to follow everybody else to get into those last few playoff places. Yeah, sometimes by not following the pack actually yields great results as well, as we saw last year with 2 out of the 4 teams who reached our own live league key playoff places. 2 out of the 4 didn't follow any of the real patterns here, and one of them did his own thing, which is full credit to our commissioner for doing that. The interesting part would be, and we'd have to speak to those. I think I can speak for the commissioner and say I think he was just winging it, to be fair to him. But that was based on the fact he's trying to run a league as well as making sure we're all okay, and I respect that. But as for Chris, it'd be fascinating to see Chris's opinion on this, because was his based on average draft position? Is that the route that he went down? Did he realise by picking 8th, because Chris was picking 8th in our live league, that the key running backs had gone, so he decided to go down the route of I'll get the best wide receiver here and then I'll take some running backs? I'd be fascinated to hear his view and opinion on that. Love to know. But I can only speak for myself, really, and my strategy that I used was the top strategy. Well, of course, it would be, because I was armed with this information. You see, I had all the data. So I already had that sort of extra heads up, if you will. But I believe the league is changing. And I believe it's beginning to take some interesting turns and changes, because we're starting to see rookies coming in now who are producing. And this adds a new dynamic to it. And of course, when we couple this new WAB system to our league, that's also going to have some impacts on this and how you actually go about delivering a top-class draft attack, trying to get exactly what you want out of the draft board when you want it. Last year as well, I must leave you on this point, in our league, 12 out of 16 teams drafted a running back first, just so it's absolutely crystal clear. So you can see that a lot of people did follow clearly fantasy advice that was given by experts, and rightly so, and you can see the reasons why. Anyway, I think it's good to bring this video to a conclusion. I've been Sean Connors. This has been all about why running back first strategies are preferred, and there's some real data behind that, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Anyway, I'll see you soon. Take care of yourselves and happy fantasy gaming. Bye-bye for now.